Hi there, Neil Clark here of Falkirk Piping, www.falkirkpiping.com, and on Facebook at Falkirk Piping and Glenbervie Folk Duo. This is our latest lesson, which is lesson 7 on how to learn the bagpipes. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to play the throw on D, or at least one method of playing the throw on D. To recap, what we did in Lesson 6 was high A grace notes and low A grace notes. Just to recap that. And that was low A grace notes down and high A grace notes up. Anyway, on to the throw in D. It's a very common embellishment, and I think it's a very good embellishment as well if it's played correctly. Unfortunately, this embellishment suffers from perhaps being the most poorly played embellishment around. The most common mistake is actually missing out the low G at the start of the embellishment. It's very commonly used. That's the Black Bear and Piper of Drummond. The throw in D is a very common embellishment. Now, two ways of playing it. One is referred to as the light throw on D, and the other is referred to as the heavy throw. I'll see if I can get this right because I don't usually play it. Now, the thing about the two, and my argument for playing the light throw, is for a start, Pibroch requires the light throw. So if you're going to play Pibroch, I think it'd be a bit of a waste of time to actually learn two different throws on D. Also, personal preference, I feel sometimes the heavy throw can sound a little bit clumsy, and I also think they're misnamed, because personally I can make my light throw sound every bit as heavy as most people's heavy throw. So we'll show you how to do it. The light throw in D, the movement itself starts on low G. We then go straight to a full D. I know this is an embellishment, but we're going to finish on a full D as well. So we use the full D, we go down to C and back to D. That's quite easy when you break it up like that. So starting on the low G, up to D, back to C, and finishing on the D. Remember that the low G portion is very often the portion of this embellishment that is actually missed out. The embellishment itself, that's played very slowly. Let's try that again. Please pause the video now and try that movement. Now, at that speed, it's not incredibly difficult. One of the pitfalls that you may have to address is the usual coming from low G to low D, so it's to D, sorry, and making sure that you raise all three fingers at the one time. If you don't, you may get a climbing effect. That's a bit extreme, but it shows you what you might get. So low G, full D, C and D again. I should have told you this at the start. This is chapter 11 in the National Piping Centre book. That's lesson 8 in Robert Wallace's book, and it's lesson 3 in the College of Piping Green Book Tutor 1. So just to recap what we've done already. Eventually that's going to sound, but every element of the embellishment is still there. Now, we have to be able to play this embellishment from any other note on the scale, and there's quite a straightforward scale for doing that from. So we'll have a little look at that just now. From low G, please remember and carry out the embellishment starting on a D. You just close down to low G as normal and complete the embellishment. The other thing that may be worth mentioning at this stage, you'll see that most embellishments are written as 30-second notes or demi-semi-quavers. However, if you progress to pibroch, or indeed if you started on pibroch, then the low G portion of this movement is written as a semi-quaver. So the low G portion is twice the length of the rest of the embellishment. Now, that might sound a bit strange, but I personally think it sounds really good when it's played like that, and I tend to overspill into light music with an extra bit on the low G. It also makes sure, of course, that it doesn't disappear. This is about the third time I've mentioned this, but the low G portion really disappears perhaps 30% of the time in people's playing. If you don't play the low G, this is not a thrown D. So let's show you the movement again from low G all the way up to D. Please pause the video and practice the throw in D from all the other notes on the bottom hand. Now, let's move from the bottom hand to the throw in D from every note on the top hand. The main difference, of course, is that your pinky will be up to start, so wherever you come from on the top hand, you'll have to make sure that the pinky goes down as well at the same time. So starting on the E, excuse the moisture on the chanter. It's really quite a simple embellishment when you break it up like that and you play it nice and slowly. So that there's no reason to skim this embellishment at all. It's perfectly simple. Please always try and play every part of the embellishment. Let's have a look at the whole scale. That's the throw on D from any other note on the scale. Please pause the video now and try that scale. That's just went up the scale. It's always good to practice going down the scale. A lot of people don't, and then when you actually come to practice that for the first time, it can feel a little bit awkward. I didn't do that when I learned. I was, of course, 4 when I learned, but I always just practiced up the scale, and then years later when I found people went down the scale as well, it did feel a little bit awkward to me. So let's have a look at that now then. So starting from high A, you'll see that compared with the last few times I've demonstrated this, the throw in D started to quicken up a little bit there. Again though, all the portions of the embellishment were still there. Let's have a look at going up and down, and then I'll ask you to practice that. please pause the video now and practice going both up and down the scale with the throw on D. I'd imagine you should have done not too bad with that, as long as you keep things nice and slow. Don't attempt to play the embellishment fast at all until you're ready to do so. As I've said, it's a great embellishment. It's in tunes like Teribus and lots of beginner tunes as well. Please remember to play the low G portion of the throw. Now that includes, even if you decide to go down the road of the heavy throw, the low G portion must be in there. Otherwise the throw sounds very thin and bare, and of course isn't actually a throw in the first place. You can afford to speed this up, but at all times don't lose any part of the embellishment. You can play as fast as you like, as long as it remains musical, correct and controlled. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really go for speed at all. I've kind of outlived that, I suppose. Anyway, so the throw on D. When we come to our next lesson in the series, we will have a look at the burl, completely performed on the low A finger, and causes no end of controversy. As far as I'm concerned, there's one way to play it, and I'll show you it, and I may show you some alternatives. In the meantime, good luck with the throw in D. Please remember the low G in the throw. That's Neil Clark, Falkirk Piping, www.falkirkpiping.com, and on Facebook as Falkirk Piping and Glenbervie Folk Duo. Thanks very much.